Hello student and welcome to the lecture on composition. Now after this lecture we will be able to learn the following objectives. Discuss the use of narration in composition, explain the importance of description, describe what argumentation is in relation to composition. Introduction to composition. Let us start with composition. The process of putting words and sentences together in a conventional way, also the action of putting things together, formation or construction is called as composition writing. Now we shall talk about it at length. Structuring the composition. Composition are structured much like individual paragraphs. They are clear introductory and concluding elements. Composition paragraphs. Like individual paragraphs, composition paragraphs should be organized in the same way to support the main idea of a larger piece of writing. Extending your ideas. For the conclusion to make a lasting effect, the final thoughts should extend from the points discussed in your writing. Concluding statements. Unlike an individual paragraph, the clinching statement of a composition should either restate the main idea of the paragraph or connect the paragraph main idea with the composition thesis or restate main idea of paragraph and transitions into the next paragraph idea or all of them. There are four categories of composition: narration, description, exposition and argumentation. Narration. Narration refers to assimilating information and retelling it. There are certain variation in the narrative form. Narrative essay. Narrative essay tells about a story or incident through an essay, poetry. Narrative poetry tells stories about societies and heroic deeds. Many of them are very long, some like ballads and epic poems. Narrative novel. Mostly all novels are narrative as they tell a story or narrate an incident. Let us know the various modes of narration. First person narrative. The first person narrative is in effect when the narrator is placed directly in the story and refers to himself as I. Second person narrative. In this narrative, one person is referred to as you. This is the least commonly used narrative. Third person narrative. The characters are referred to as he, she, they. It is the most commonly used narrative form. There is another type of narrator, the multiple narrators. In the story, the author may use multiple narrators to tell the story. This helps to narrate the story to different points of view. Description. A description is a kind of composition that describes the pictures of objects, persons, scenes and others by presenting these in the written words or language. It appeals to the understanding process of the readers. It also serves as an aid to the expository process. In description, there are two types of composition that are being considered. Artistic description. It is also called a suggestive, evocative or literary description. Giving pleasure to the readers is one of the aims of artistic description. It appeals to beauty as it stimulates the reader's emotion and imagination. Informative description. It is also called scientific and technical description. Presenting the details of the appearance of a person, places or other things is the aim of an informative description. Convention of the descriptive essay. A descriptive essay has one clear dominant impression. This impression guides your selection of detail and is the central idea you express in your thesis sentence. Description is based upon the selective attention and it relies on emotion and experience to convey its point. The descriptive essay relies on concrete, specific details to communicate its point. Description can incorporate all the senses. Let us learn some strategies for developing the descriptive essay. Be subtle. Write small details first and let those accumulate in the reader's mind so that they come to see the dominant impression eventually. Be consistent. Reread your description to ensure that each one of your smaller details is needed to support the main point. Be systematic. Move your reader in space and time in an orderly, chronological fashion. Be aware of change. Use change as a controlling idea in your selection of images and details. Be emotional. Use your emotional response to your topic to guide your selection of details. Choose an emotion to be a dominant theme in your description. Organize and select details around that dominant emotion. Exposition. Exposition is a statement or a rhetorical discourse intended to give information about or an explanation of difficult material, the part of a play that provides the background information needed to understand the characters and the action, and a setting forth of meaning or the intent can also be called exposition. Exposition can be conveyed through dialogues, through a character's thoughts, background details, through in-universe media such as newspaper clippings, trial reports and letters, or through a narrator telling a backstory, or by establishing scenes where character is followed. Exposition can be seen in movies, music, television shows, and plays and written text. In music, the exposition is the first part of the sonata form, which introduces the themes used in the composition or the opening section of the figure. In a play, film, or television show, exposition would be used anywhere in the work to give background information about the characters or any part of the work. There are certain ways to present exposition. They are description exposition. The writer explains the characteristic of a topic, shows examples, and describes features. Comparison exposition. The writer shows how two topics are alike or different. Cause and effect exposition. The writer explains the cause of an event and thoroughly investigates the effects. Problem and solution exposition. The author sets forth a problem and then explains possible solution to it. Sequence exposition. The writer shows events in either chronological or numbered order. Argumentation. The argumentation type of composition appeals to the reader's reasoning capability as well as the reader's emotion. It makes the readers change their mind, attitude, points of view, or feelings. In here, the writer tries to persuade the readers by giving an argument that will challenge their reasons with regard to their opinion and thoughts regarding a certain things or idea. Reaching an argument-based writing. Writing is addressed to an audience. Audiences often take an active role in creating the meaning of a given text, and thus purposeful writing must attempt to work with and against the activity of the audience in order to accomplish its goals. Discourse is useful one way or the other. It is useful for the writers to articulate their purposes and to learn how to make choices to fulfill them. Writing arises out of situation. It does not come into being for no reason. Sometimes the exigency is completely external, and sometimes the writer needs to argue it into place. Writers need to make their main point clear to the reader. The main point may be complex or nuanced, but it should not be mysterious. Writers are expected to present evidence for their arguments, not just statements of belief. The evidence can be authority, personal experiences, narrative accounts, anthemes, examples, etc. Writers can learn how to develop arguments systematically, and the ability to do this will improve writing ability. Style is neither mere ornament nor mere correctness. Therefore, it should be used in conjunction with developing arguments. Summary. Now in the end, let us summarize what we have learned in this lecture. The process of putting words and sentences together in a conventional way, also the action of putting things together, formation or construction, is called as composition writing. There are four categories of composition: narration, description, exposition, and argumentation. Narration refers to assimilating information and retailing it. The modes of narration are first person, second person, third person, and multiple person. A description is a kind of composition that describes the pictures of objects, person, scenes, and others by presenting these in the written words or language. Exposition is a statement or a rhetorical discourse intended to give information about or explanation of difficult material. The argumentation type of composition appeals to the reader's reasoning capability as well as to the reader's emotion. It makes the readers change their mind, attitude, points of view, or feelings.